Well, U.S. President Donald Trump is fast closing in on his first 100 days in office, and his public approval rating continues to hover around 40%, still a low mark for a new president. Trump's rating on foreign policy has improved slightly in the wake of recent U.S. military strikes in Syria and Afghanistan, but the president's domestic agenda seems stuck in neutral. Here's VOA's national correspondent Jim Malone.
After a rough few months on the domestic front, President Trump has increasingly turned his attention to foreign policy concerns, including North Korea's missile program and the recent military strikes in Syria and Afghanistan.
Right now, the world is a mess, but I think by the time we finish, I think it's going to be a lot better place to live. And I can tell you that, speaking for myself, by the time I'm finished, it's going to be a lot better place to live in, because right now it's nasty.
The flexing of U.S. military might was welcomed by Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell.
An interesting message to a lot of our adversaries around the world and our allies around the world that this administration is going to be more assertive than the previous one.
But Trump's standing at home is more complicated. Protesters have been out in force to demand the president release his tax returns. There was a clash in California between anti-Trump and pro-Trump demonstrators. Trump's efforts on health care and other domestic priorities remain stalled, frozen by polarized politics, says Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer.
He'll have trouble constantly unless he moves to the middle. We're waiting for him to do it.
From the beginning of his presidency, Trump has struggled to broaden his base of support, says analyst Sarah Binder.
Starting with historically low approval ratings, right, and even those approval ratings remain reasonably high with Republicans, but even those numbers have come down a bit. So it's very hard going forward to build big coalitions in American politics from a very narrow base.
Trump's best hope for progress on domestic issues may be to enlist support from Democrats, even if it risks angering Republicans, says William Galston.
If the administration really wants to move in that direction, they ought to initiate discussions with Democrats on issues such as tax reform and infrastructure right away, in my judgment.
Less than 100 days into his presidency, Trump is now trying to balance the pressing needs of his domestic agenda amid the backdrop of an uncertain and ever-changing world. Jim Malone, VOA News, Washington.